How you guys enjoying the boot camp so far? Not much has happened, but how's it going? What do you mean a lot? It's only Wednesday. Can't be that much that has happened. Or is there some mystical thing that I don't know about? Oh, still through day 01. Okay. What are these mystical things I don't know about? Is there any specific thing that you guys would say is mystical and I don't know about? Or what's the story? Oh, is that for you to know? Okay, it's fine. I'll just have a look at your profile later and see what's happening. While we at that, let me have a look here on Intro to get the PDF so far. Oh no, not your Twitch profile. I'm talking about your Intro profile. You know, where I can see what your marks are and what people have given you a yes and no and the responses and all of that. Yeah, there's the sad face. Alright, so for those who are here and don't know, I am Julian. I am one of the software developer technical administrators. I'm not abusing my power. Um, so what I want to do is I just want to give you guys a brief overview on a couple of things. Tomorrow will be a more in-depth, intense one. So tomorrow's one will take longer, especially since I know in Joburg they've got some social thingy that they have to be a part of. Um, so not all of them can attend. But essentially, let me, for instance, go to. Mm, yeah. No, not that one. That one's going to be painful. Maybe this one. Mm. So what I need to do is I need to have a look at something that's going to be similar between WSL and Unix. Okay, yeah, we'll do this one. So, for example, on day 01, exercise 8, we just pull it over here. Creates a script called count files that counts and displays a number of regular files and directories in the current directory and all its subdirectories. It should include the dot. Alright. So if we have a look at what it's asking, I'm only bringing this up because I know yesterday someone had a question on it. Yes, that is a vape. Leave me alone. Um, I'm at home. I'm allowed to do what I want. Can we do that? We have repo on MacBook. Well, you can do it in the afternoons, but remember, you still want to be on campus, being part of the peer-to-peer system. You don't want to be not a part of it because the whole thing is we need to help each other learn and get them through this. So At night, you can work from home, but generally during the day, try to be on campus. It really does help because if you know something, you're stealing that from somebody else who doesn't know it, if it makes sense. You want to be able to help each other. Okay, back to this question. Well, not this question. Well, yeah, this question here. Yeah. So in here, it specifically says regular files and directories. Now, that is the key word in this one, is the regular files and directories, right? So if I had to go here and get my file, count files.sh, right? I'm telling it that it's going to be a shell script. Now, generally what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to do this thing. I think that's the one, which is called a shebang. It generally just tells the computer what you want to do with it, so I can execute without any weirdness. But in that case, like we can just go and we can do an LAR, right? So in this case, it's going to be a weird oh, crying out loud. Why are you being weird? It's there. Permissions denied, yeah. Okay. So it is there. WSL does things a little bit weird. So you kind of need to work with that. But there we go. So now I have that information, right? So it's given me the list with an all view and reverse. So technically, what we could do is we could take out the A because we don't really care about all because we want to ignore the hidden files. So now we just get the 2. So we just go straight for the standard ls, we get the 2 files. Now the main issue with this is because we still want to include the dot. So you'll notice there it says should include the dot, which is the starting directory. So for that one, you could go and like just randomly add a 1 if you wanted to, and then you're going to have to start creating variables and go through weird stuff. But I'm not giving you the exact answer here, so that's okay. So what you do want to do is you want to do recursive, because you want to go from your current directory recursively, and all you can do is you can do that. So then you're telling it you want the word count per line. So now if I run that, it'll be 3. So if I had to type that now, just so you can see, that's what I'm getting. I'm getting the dot / count files download blah blah blah. So if you put the rest of those in, that's pretty much the question done. It's 2 lines basically. So you can see I'm specifically piping it in, which means I'm taking that result and I'm feeding it into word count, which does its own thing with its own flag and comes up with that. Extensions use commands? Not really. If I go to my extensions, you'll see all I'm using is remote WSL and in the C++ IntelliSense. That is it. You don't really need to use anything else for C. Does this make sense on how that question is read and understood? I'll take that as a yes. Awesome. Okay. So what I want to do next is I'm going to move on to day 02, because that's where C is actually coming in, and that's where I'm just going to help give you guys a bit of head start on what to do. You'll see there's the forward, which is amazing. Read them, it'll help lighten up your day. They might be long, but some of them are quite interesting. Alright, so here we go. This is the reason why I want to do this one in particular. This is going to be one of the only cases I'm going to be giving some form of an answer. Except there is a much easier way to do it, and I'll leave that up to you to figure it out. Here we have ftprint alphabet. Now it tells us we need to turn in a directory of exercise 00 with a file called ftprint alphabet, and the only allowed function is ftputchar. Okay. So now ftputchar is a function that allows you to write a singular character to the terminal. Just that, one singular character. For that, so what we need to do is we're going to create our exercise 00. Inside here we'll create our, I actually forgot what it's called now. Yay. ftprint alphabet. Because I'm lazy, I will copy it. Okay, so now we have it in our file directory as it is. Currently, if I had to submit my directory like this, it is technically wrong. There's an update. Ask me later. So you don't want to have extra files. So for example, these two. So you would just have your main files, which is going to be exercise 00 and ftprint alphabet. Now this one, generally speaking, when you run it, it won't work because it's missing quite a couple of things. So if I go back to it, you'll see it gives you a prototype. Let me just zoom in that a bit. So void ftprint alphabet void. Now the way C works, it will sort of create a link, like a lookup table. And if I go here and I say ftprint alphabet void blah, right? So if I go and I put that in just like that, it's not wrong, but it's not right. This is not going to do anything, right? What you know is you're allowed to use the function ftputchar. Now, this one is a little bit complicated because at the end of the day, how do I say it? I can't remember exactly how Morley tests it. It's been a couple of years for me. But basically, you would need to prototype it as well without actually using it. So that would just be a standard prototype, and this would be an implementation. But I will show you just now why I'm doing this. So in here, you'll notice I'm not doing this in the norm per se, but that's because I need it to be readable. Yes, it will be on YouTube, and I'll cover it lightly tomorrow again, so that if anybody has a question, I can actually answer it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an integer. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do it. That's our integer count, and then count is equal to 0. I'll remove that line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say while my count is less than, was it 26, right? I believe so. And I want it to now do something. Okay. So while loop is simply going to have a look at the condition of what I'm asking for. So my condition is I want to make sure that my integer of counts, right? So I've declared counts. I want to make sure it's less than 26, and currently it is 0. And then what I want that to do is every single time I go into this loop, I also want to increase that value. There's 3 ways you can increase the value. You can do count plus plus, well, 4 ways. Plus plus count, count plus equals 1, or count is equal to count plus 1. By all means, use the one that is most comfortable to you. This one requires a bit of understanding because it is a pre-increment, so it behaves differently. This is a standard post increment. Essentially, these 3 work exactly the same, that you won't really run into any problems doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the one I prefer to use, which is just count plus plus. So now I have this value count, right? And I wanted to now do something because currently it will just print it out. There's no special things happening or anything like that. But I've now declared this function prototype as ft_char as a void, but now I wanted to print something, so I actually needed to use that value. So I know I need a character. Just so you know, characters and integers are pretty much the same thing. You can use them interchangeably, but you risk losing a couple of bytes on the side. I don't have trailing white space off. Okay, so now I've got this, and I'm just going to say I want to print out the character A. So what you'll notice is if I have a char C, I will put it in a single quote. If I have a pointer C, which you'll get to later, it'll be in a double quote. So if it's a pointer, double quote. If it's a single one, single quote. Depending on what you want to do with it, because you can kind of... I can technically still make this a single quote, but I'll cover in tomorrow's video. It's a bit more complicated. So for now, that's just basically how you would reference between a single character and a string of characters. So when you're doing a pointer, you could be dealing with a string of characters, or you could be dealing with a single character. But like I said, tomorrow's problem. So now I've gone and I've said this. So while my value is less than 26, I want to increase it, and I want to do ft_char. And let's just say I leave it at that. So now I go to my terminal, and I'm going to run it with GCC, which is a GNU C compiler. And I now want to give it my file. So let me first go into that directory. And if I go to GCC ft_print_o, it's going to complain, right? And as you can see here, it's telling me that I have an undefined reference to ft_char. One other thing that you do need to do is you need to compile with these flags: war, where, and vextra. The simplest way for me to put it is if I remove this count is equal to 0 and I compile with the flags, Unix will allow it. Okay, on a Mac it doesn't allow you to do that because you actually need to initialize the value. It's always best to initialize your values. I keep forgetting that Unix likes to just do things for you, which is why it's better than Mac. Mac complains a lot, and it's slow, and it's horrible. Alright, so you can see no matter how many times I'm going to try recompile this, it's going to tell me, hey, I can't do it. And the reason why is it's this here. I've gone and I've told it this is what I want to use, but it doesn't actually exist. So if I do that and I comment it out, it's going to give me that problem. And that is telling me that I haven't declared it. I've called something that doesn't exist, right? So you can see there's two types of errors here. The one would be the undefined reference, and the other one would be implicit declaration of function. Undefined reference means it's not been implemented, and then the declaration means I don't know what you want me to do. And the way we can bypass this is if we actually implement this function. So when you guys are testing ft print alphabet or any other function that says you're allowed to use ft_char or even ft_string, they both need you to actually sort of do this. The header you will need is the uni standard header. So you would need to include that. So when you include it, all I'm asking it is I want this header to exist in my code. And then when you words are hard. When you are done with that and you compile the program, what it does is it looks through its standard shared libraries, looks at what you want, and includes that in your compiled program. The reason why I want Unistandard is a function called write. And there we can go and we can see what it wants. So write or write n bytes of the buff to a file descriptor and return the number written or a -1. Now, if you really want to, I don't recommend it because it's not necessary. You could make it an int, but like I said, it's technically wrong. We don't care about it. So with write, I want to write to 1. Now, 1 would be the terminal. So you've got your standard out, your standard error, and then another one. So it's 1, 2, and 3 that are always open and reserved to the system that you can write to. And then, yeah, so that's pretty much the basics of it. What I'm doing here specifically is I'm saying I want the address of C. If I had done that, it would have worked, but we're not doing that. This is the standard way that ftputchar is written. This is the only way ftputchar is written. Let me put it that way. So now we still need to test it, right? So if I compile again, now it's going to tell me I don't have a main. Undefined reference to main. Main is the entry point of all C programs. If your C program doesn't have a main, it can't execute. So you can't go creating your main with a different prototype, a different name, thinking it'll work. It doesn't work that way. So what you want to do is you want to go int double tab main. I'm going to leave it as void for now because arguments I'll cover tomorrow as well. And there we go. So now we have an int and main. Now, if anyone is wondering the difference between int and void, those are your return types to a function. So certain functions can return a value and certain functions you don't want to return a value. So for example, in print alphabet, all we wanted to do is print the alphabet. So we don't care if it's going to return a value or not. In main, we need an exit code. So you'll see here at the bottom, it says error LD returned 1 exit status. Okay, that is an exit code. It's a good way to debug your program to see where something failed. You can use, what is it? P error, I think it is. But don't worry about that. And then you can actually set that code, and then when you debug it, you can see, oh, it failed with code. I can't remember what the codes are. File descriptor not available or something like that. Those are options. So what I'll do here is I'm going to return a 0. Well, I know this won't break in the main, and it doesn't need to break anywhere else. So what I'm going to do now is I need to call the function I have created. So I'm going to start with ftputchar just to see if it works. So I'm going to say A. And when I GCC it, now it will compile, and it's happy. If I run the program, which default will be a.out, there I get the letter A. So now I know my ftputchar works. Once again, it's the simplest function. That is the answer. Have at it. Now I want to see if my other function works, which is ft_print_alphabet. So you'll see where C, I gave it the variable of A for ftputchar over here. Here I said void, which means I'm not giving it anything, right? I don't want it to take parameters. It must just work. So I'll go and I'll run gcc and a.out, and I get 26 A's. One way I can prove that is by piping it into wc. And it will tell me I have 26 A's on that line. But now, here's the problem with this. I've gone and I've only printed out A. I need to print out the alphabet. Now, there's multiple ways I could do this. One of the ways I recommend you guys to do it is to look at the ASCII table. So you can, in your terminal, type man ASCII and you will get the manual on ASCII. And it will give you all the information. So on a Mac, it will look different. On Unix, it gives me the oct, des, hex, and character. So if I go to, what it is on this side, there we go. There we go. So in hex, the number is 61. In decimal, oh gosh, I lost it now. The number is 97. We will be working with decimal, not hex. Decimal is simpler to work with, especially for what you guys need to do. So now that I know the number is 97, like I said, there's a few ways you can do it, but we'll do it this way. I'm going to say Hmm. What would be a good way to do this? I could say 71 plus count. I might need to typecast this. Let me just have a look. One of the issues I have is when I do a workshop, I like to experiment as well while doing it. Kind of got it. So now you can see I've got some random gibberish from G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Which makes no sense to me because it's wrong. So now that I've messed that up, I go look at the man and I try to figure out where I messed up. And if you go here, there is 71, right? So you can be like, okay, cool, this makes sense. I went back too far and I ended up here somewhere. And then we go and we're like, oh yeah, it's 97. Yes, I did that on purpose. Then we're going to say 97. So now what's going to happen is whenever count increases, it's going to increase this value. So it's going to go from 97 to 98 to 99 up until hopefully it will stop at 122, which is Z. So if I leave that now and I go to GCC and I run it, there we have the alphabet. Now this is a long-winded way to do it, using integers and counts. For educational purposes, I'm going to also show you how to do it another way, using characters. So now I can go char, and I'm going to call it C. It won't interrupt with this character at all. This is a named variable in the scope of this function. This is a different scope, they don't overlap. I'm going to start with A. And now I'm going to say while my C is less and equal to Z. This will work as well, because as I've said before, characters are also numbers. So you see if I hover over it, my VS Code will tell me that is an integer of 97, and Z is an integer of 122. So it will react with it as if it's a number. So in my while loop, I am now going to say C++. And I'm going to go ft put char C. And there we get the alphabet as well. So you can increment your characters as a number as well. If you really want to, you can also do this, but it starts getting messy and it looks weird. But it'll work because the character holds a number. If I remove, yeah, quick note, for the norm, if you do this, it is also fine. That is norm compliance. And it will run without a problem. Okay. So that would just be bare basics on how to actually test it once you've written the functions. So in a scenario of marking someone's work, what I recommend is the following. This won't be there, and this won't be there, because it's only asking you for print alphabet and then the word ft_char. Now, this kind of gets a little bit tricky, because technically speaking, you would still want to prototype it at the top. Like, it feels wrong for me not to. So I say keep it there. Makes more sense to me. Let me just double check that PDF. Thing is, you guys don't do prototypes yet. It's weird. I don't know how to answer this question. It just says how that should be prototyped, so maybe. Allowed function. Actually, you know what? You guys can implement it. No, you can't, because it uses write and write's forbidden. Okay, we'll just leave it like that. So if you submit it like that, it's fine. As you can see, I still have my a.out, so technically we want to remove that. And this is all what your turn-in directory will look like. You will only have, so if I go back, and I go to ls, you'll see it's exercise 00. If I do the ls-r pipe word count.list, I should only get 5, which makes sense. Okay, so if I just do the ls-r, you'll see, there we go. We have exercise 00, inside exercise 00, we'll have ft_print alphabet. Right, so this is the 5 things that it's counting. I think you guys might want to remove that for that other question, but it's fine. So this is all it needs to look like if you only submit exercise 00. No extra files, no problem. So now, when that is done, someone comes to mark me and they pull my work and they look at it and goes, oh yes, that's amazing. That looks correct. Now test it for me. And then either you have to pull down your work and test it, or the person who's marking you will test your code for you. In which case, that person or you will have to go and fill out this information again. Now I want to show you what happens if I don't put in the header. If we just do that. I'm in the wrong folder. Import that. There we go. So besides my fantastic spelling, I get this implicit declaration to function right. Okay. Where it's basically telling me, like I said, it can't find that symbol. It doesn't know what to connect to, so it can't actually build your project for you. And then that's where you would have to include your header. If you're wondering how to find out what header to include, you can man. So if you go for the man for write, somewhere in here, I believe it's supposed to tell you, or it's on another pages. Because you can get different mans. It's man write 2. Okay, this one doesn't have more than one. If the man doesn't tell you, you can just go to one of the websites I like to use, which is C++. Where is it? C++. Is it that one? No, it's not that one. Tutorials points is also a good one to use. Let me show you. It will look something like this. This is just the C++ version. I might take out that. There's no one. Is it again? Is it just C? Search. Okay. This website does not have good search functionality, but they do have it. I've used it before. Don't worry about buying their stuff. You're just here for the other things that it has. Here you go. Let's have a look at this one. This is what I was trying to get to man 2. In here you'll see there include Unistandard, what it returns, and how to use it, along with all the information. Keep it nice and simple. So what I did, to show you how I did that, I just said write C. And I get results. And I clicked on the first one. And even the first one will tell me hashtag include Unistandard and how to use it. So if the terminal doesn't tell you, use the web. It's there for you. There we go. Oh, C programming. Okay, so it's not just C, it's C programming. And then here it will tell you if you had to open it, because this is all about your file input and output. So it's going to tell you how to open a file if you want to get a specific file descriptor. So the only problem with this is you can see it's showing you a lot of other extra information that you don't need. So when you're going to tutorials point, just make sure you find the right things that you need. You'll see here I can go to data types, and here's some basic types, enumerator types, type voids, and here it will tell you all the information. So you can see here a char is 1 byte and an int is 2 bytes. This is where I said you will end up losing byte information, but it can be done as long as you use it properly. Yeah, so if you ever need to find out stuff, here you go. I don't know, what else can I say? Will you guys be able to do this properly in your corrections, into actually testing the code, making sure that it works, and not being a complete banana about it? One of the simplest ways to make sure that they did things correctly is to do that, and all it should complain about is nothing in red. So you see I don't have any red going on. It's just telling me that I don't have my main, and within function ftprint alphabet I don't have my ftput char. Is that clear to everyone? Okay, cool. Are there any questions around this? Will you be able to get through the the work that you need to do properly with understanding what it wants and all of that? Okay, fantastic. We'll try. Yeah, I feel like we'll try is a better answer than just yes. Okay, like I said, tomorrow I'm going to go over this briefly again. If anybody else has questions, I'll at least give them the option of having the floor because currently they don't. And then tomorrow we'll go over some more advanced stuff. Just a little bit more advanced. And then next week I'll do another one where we go over more things. But basically, yeah, that's it. Can we go over debugging? I mean, sure, if you really want to. Where are we supposed to be now by terms of exercises? Here's the thing, I'm not in. Yeah, we can go over debugging now. But the thing is, I'm not entirely sure where you're supposed to be because I wasn't really informed about what the new scheduling system is. So when I did my bootcamp in 2018, I had to, well, basically it's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, which means I was finishing up day 02. So I believe you guys have a different schedule on how things work. I don't know. But yeah, generally I'd say try and finish the work as soon as you can to move on and absorb as much information as you can. That's my only advice. Alright, so now I want to debug this. And I want to be a little bit silly about it. I do need to install GDB because I don't think I have it installed. So you have a couple of debugging tools. You have GDB and LLDB already installed on the Mac. But because I don't have it installed on the system, and I probably typed my password wrong, yep. There we go. Oh, do have GDB and LLDB? Ah, I don't know about LLDB. Okay. I prefer using LLDB. It just seems to work better for me. GDB has some weird things. I'm just trying to think what's going to be the best way to break it. Hmm. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all this back. So this is where you're going to be able to see that return 0 when it runs successfully. So now I compile the program again. I'm going to run lldb followed by the program name. And it's going to start this whole process. Now currently it's not going to do anything because I haven't told it what I want it to do. So if I type in help, I'll get a whole bunch of things and a whole bunch of information. So you can see here, set a breakpoint using one of several shorthand formats. You can do a continue. You can attach a process to it. So if you got something that's running and you want to breakpoints into it, you can do that. There's a lot of things you can do. Yeah, you can even stop it. You can jump over code. So if you have a certain condition that's failing and you're not sure why, you can jump over it and go to different parts of your code and work from there. But like I said, that's way out of scope for you guys. So I'm just going to say run. And it's going to launch. And now I need to wait. Because my system is potato when it does this. It works better when doing it on the Mac. I'm not sure why. Why is it a pain in the butt when it does this? Okay, so this will work for you guys. I think the main problem is it doesn't work very well on WSL, on the version I'm using. That's weird. I can also do GDB, and it will also give me this whole extra information. Quit. And then if I go GDB edit out and run, there you go. Okay, so it works better with GDB on WSL. Is probably why they give me GDB instead. And then here we can go and we see it printed out the alphabet and it exited normally, which means yay. I think if I had to say like -6 or something, it'll change. Quit. There you go. So now it doesn't say exit normal. It says exited with code 0372. Whatever that code is and whatever problem it had, that's where it crashed. And then what we can do, quit, not exit, is we can start doing more specific things. So if I had to, okay, this is just hypothetical speaking, changing things around, we can see what's happening. So in here, I'm going to create a char star alphabet. And then I'm going to write 1, alphabet. I don't recommend you guys do it this way, but it will work. Alright, so now I've gone and I've done this and it works, but now I'm going to be stupid. I'm going to say alphabet at position 3 is going to equal to A. And I'm going to run it, and oh no, something crashed. And at this point, I'm like, oh no, what is it? I can't figure it out. I've had 12 people look at my code, and we don't know why it's segfaulting. And I can run it in GDB and say run, and it will also tell me, hey, you segfaulted in ftprint alphabet. Now, this doesn't tell you exactly where, but it narrows it down. There are ways that you can get it to go further into it and figure out figure out exactly where the problem is, to the point where it will even tell you on what line that you failed. It'll tell you what the numbers are, what line, and all of that stuff, and that is all covered in this. So if I go and I can say files, print alphabet.c, I think it was. Why is that not working? Okay, let me just say files. Nope. Question mark. See, because it's going to pick that up as arguments. Continue, maybe, I don't know. I don't use GDB a lot. There you go. Terminated with segfault. Alright, cool. Okay, so if you guys really want to get into it, GDB does exist. The confusion phase. Yeah, no, sorry, this was just answering somebody else's question. It's a bit more intense. What I recommend is, if you want to learn more about GDB, you can read up on it, go to a YouTube channel. I originally did it with GDB help. So if we have a look here, it will kind of give me some information. And there you go. Identify executable associated with a call file. You can do that. Directory, symbols. So there's more information on what you can do. And there's more information on what you can do. It's a lot of information. But let me see. -E. Nope. Files? Nope. Okay. Not quit. Exit. Yeah, kill the process. Okay. So, generally speaking, wouldn't it be easier if we use the right function? Well, yes and no. The specific part of what I was trying to show is for segmentation fault, how to find that, which you should be running into probably tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, day 03, whenever you guys are doing day 03. Essentially, it's because of this one line. And if I take it out, everything will work fine again. I'll go into it tomorrow as to why it causes seg faults and blah blah blah. You can use write, in which case I suggest rather doing something like this. You can create a function called void ft put string. This is another function you guys will be doing. Oh, side note, this is wrong. You can't do this. I have seen people do this. It is terrible. It's not. It's just puts. I've seen people try to get away with just doing that. It's wrong. It's a failure. It will complain. The reason why it's wrong, because it exists in the standard library, which we do not do. No, it's not standard. Strings? Standard library. It's standard. Standard IO. Standard IO. Standard IO. You will eventually remember which libraries do what. I don't. I guess. And there we go. Okay. So if I had to do this now, just in case you haven't realized, this is all wrong. Don't do it this way, please. It'll still work. Except you'll see now, I don't have this character at the end, this like percentage sign. Because what will happen is puts will actually put the new line character at the end if need be. So the new line character will get rid of that little percentage thing, caret that sits at the end. Anyway, so you wouldn't want to do that. That's wrong. You would actually want to write out the function properly. I'm not going to show you the way I do it because I see people try it and they get lost. So you can do it that way. And side is like no. Why do you do this, Unix? Okay. So this would work on a Mac. But Unix, well, not Unix, my Linux show decides to be special. Anyway, so run edit out, I get the same result. So remember when I had the while loop here in ftprint alphabet, and then this is essentially what I did. Just now I've taken it out and I've made a function called ftputString that will handle it for me. But now that I have that, I can be like, I can go here, I'm gonna say alphabet 3, oh, no, 3 is equal to z, why not? And I'm trying to figure out where it broke. So now I can go and I can say ft put string over here, question mark, and then add the new line because I don't want it to be all on one line. Or I can go here and I can say over here 2 question marks, right? I'm going to GCC it, I'm going to run it, and now I'll actually get some text out, and it will say over here, question mark. So I know it fails some point after this specific spot. You will notice I'm explicitly ignoring printf because just don't use printf. It actually can cause more issues than it's worth, but it's tricky to get into. I only ever really saw it happen in one of the projects we had to do, where it wouldn't print out the lines in the right order and it would freak out. It's really, really weird. Okay. Does that make sense how you can use the two methods to sort of figure out what's wrong? Probably not. I'm going to take the silence as a yes. Everything is making, to some degree, sense to somebody. Or you're all busy with corrections. Or I lost you. In case I've lost you, you're on planet Earth, somewhere either in Joburg or Cape Town by the waterfront. Yes, that was a joke. And I see somebody has gone and posted the the tutorials page. Okay, cool. I was about to do that. No, I will agree that is a terrible joke, but I was trying to get some reaction out of you guys. I have much better jokes. Anyway, I think they're just busy. I agree. I was a bit confused. All right. For the confusion, so they're going to watch the YouTube video in their own time. Yeah, I'm gonna upload the video again that you can go over the stuff. But if there are still any questions that you have, ask me now. I've got about another half an hour I can spend on this because tomorrow's one is going to be a lot longer. The only thing that really sucks about the whole Twitch streaming thing is there's such a delay in when I speak and you guys can just start again. I'm not gonna start again, it'll be on YouTube. You'll be able to watch it. You'll be able to see me go over all of it again. But there is such a delay between what I'm telling you and what is actually viewed. I think it's about like 2 or 3 seconds, and I think you guys are still trying to internalize what I've said, and it's kind of not sticking at the moment. But I will upload this. It will take about an hour or two. Even on my system, it takes quite long to encode the video. And then, yeah. Uh, and then you guys will be able to go over the video again. Like I said, tomorrow I'll be going over it again very briefly. I spent more time on this than I normally would. Yeah. So, to be clear, if I just go, whee, this is right. The other ways that I did it are sort of right, but if the function doesn't say you're allowed to use it, or the question, then don't do that. So, for example, if I go back here, I open up day 2, it says only ft put char, so you don't do ft put string. ft put char, ft put char. I think the whole of this day is mostly just ft put char. Yeah, ft put char, ft put char, ft put char. So yeah, you'll just leave ft put char at the top and then implement your function as follows. How do you print numbers using ft put char? Ooh, I shouldn't have showed you that. Okay, it's fine. The easiest way for me to show you that, so if I go back to the main ASCII, if we have a look at the numbers, they start at 48, right? So as you know, ft_char will print out that character. So if I go, and I'll do this again. Because I think this will be useful for you guys as well. Okay. I'm going to create an integer. I'm going to keep it in below the number 10 for now, just to give you a basic understanding. I'm going to say it's a number. And I'm going to make it equal 7. Alright. Now if I go ft_char number, and then I return my 0 for my exit code, I GCC and I run it, I'm going to get nothing. Weird, right? If I pipe it into cat-e, there's a random character that appears there, because what happens is in ASCII the number 7 is actually a bell, a /A. The number 10 is a new line. A return carriage is number 13. So all these things exist and they're there. Your principal characters only really start from 32. Okay, so if I go and I tell it I want 33, I'll get that exclamation mark. Okay, now if I open up the main ASCII and I look at this again and I think about it, 0 starts at 48. Okay, so if I want to print the number 7, I would need to add 7 to get to the actual value of 7. So I can add 0. That's one way to do it. And then I'll get the number 7. What gets a little bit more complicated is when you want to do 17. I'll stop at 17 because that one is still easier to do. So what you'll want to do, divide that by 10. And then using the same line, but I'm going to mod by 10. I'm not going to get into too much about it as to what the mod and the divide and how it works. You can play around with the math and figure it out. But there I have the number 17 now. If I had to add 100 and like that number, it's going to give me some random stuff because it doesn't make sense to the computer. So you kind of got to be careful about how you do it. But anyway, 17. 17 works. Let's happy with 17. So when you guys actually get to printing numbers and whatnot, that's basically how you do it. You'll have this divide mod situation. For double digits, like I said, when you get into the higher numbers, there's more while loops and stuff that you have to do in order to get it to work. And one of the best ways to do that is recursion, but that's a later story. Are you guys happy with that? You'll be able to do the work now. From 43 to 52, yeah. If you really want to. Or you can just say 0 and then while number is less than or equal to 9. You could do that as well. Like I said, all you're doing is losing bytes. Does that make sense? Are we all happy with that? Even though the confusion is there. Okay, cool. Alright, so I think I'm going to end it here unless there's any more questions. And then tomorrow we'll do the full one going through YouTube as soon as YouTube decides to activate my account. Yeah, as for Penny Squid, my YouTube name, don't worry, I'm going to post it in general when it's uploaded, then you guys can view it. So you'll have it like that. Don't worry about it. As for the questions from Lemonade, was when you are watching it and you understand it and you still have a question or two, You can post it in questions, and if I'm looking at questions and I know the answer, I'll answer it. Otherwise, I might just get um, annoyed with all the private messages if I say just send me a DM. Okay. I don't see any more comments coming in, so I think we can leave it here. Are you guys happy? I hope you're happy. It's still early in the boot camp. Be happy while you can. Alright, well, good luck with the rest of your day and enjoy.